It was quite a chunky manifesto, 86 pages in total, almost 60 measures. Not many are what you'd call brand new, but certainly some of them are striking. So let's have a look through a few of them, starting with what comes on page 1 of the document, that Labour will cut the deficit every single year of the new Parliament. And in an effort to underscore their fiscal responsibility, they say everything in the manifesto is costed, which implies cuts across the board, except in education, health and foreign aid. They promise that they won't raise taxes like VAT, but they will reintroduce the 50p tax rate for those earning over £150,000. Another new promise that we heard from Miliband today is that he said he'll extend free childcare for working parents of 3- and 4-year-olds from 15 to 25 hours, and he'll double paternity leave to 4 weeks. That's going to be paid for in part by an increase in the bank levy. And here's another promise, an extra £2.5 billion to recruit more staff in the NHS, which Labour say will be paid for by a mansion tax on properties worth over £2 million. But they have subsequently said that they won't match the Conservative pledge of £8 billion of NHS spending by 2020. But most of those policies don't carry explicit costings. There's a faster rising minimum wage to £8 an hour by 2019. Rail fares, they're going to be frozen for a year. And there's going to be a new primary childcare service to help with working families. And they're going to raise some of the money from other tax changes, like cutting the winter fuel allowance for the top 5% of pensioners. And as we heard last week, they're going to abolish non-dom status, though it's unclear whether that's actually going to raise money or cost it. Mr Miliband says the rest of the money is going to have to come from the non-protected departments, in other words, the Home Office, culture and defence, and other parts of government as well, though there's very few numbers on the scale of those cuts in the document itself.
On the Labour side, the uncertainty is not so much about where the cuts would come, but actually whether there would be and what the scale of the cuts or tax rises will be over the first half of the Parliament, because the fiscal rules they've set themselves are consistent either with actually nothing in the way of spending cuts or tax rises, or with, over the first 2 or 3 years, some really significant tax increases or spending cuts, and we don't actually know still which path the Labour Party want to tread.
Finally, there are still some who suspect Ed Miliband has a big policy held back, and he might have some surprises left for the final weeks of this election campaign.